I watched at 7:01, so I think he's good.
So we're, what's the day today? Is it the 14th?
Yes.
Okay, welcome to the December 14th, Town Center and Library Committee meeting. First up is public comment. We have Lisa and Judy. Do either of you have anything that you'd like to say to us tonight?
No,
Okay.
no.
Feel,
Okay.
both, feel free to chime in as we do our discussion.
Yeah.
Let's see, next up, I've got it here
Legal
somewhere.
and legal requirements.
I should print up this.
I have a
You have one?
copy.
Oh, there you go. Easier.
I know, I print it,
Um,
and then I can make my notes on it.
We discussed this a little bit last time. We have typically done meetings every 2 weeks, then twice a month for,
Are you
most of this
skipping the
year, right?
scheduling meeting dates?
yeah.
Okay,
The next one would typically be the end of the month, right during the holidays. I'm not sure that that's necessary.
vote for
I think we
skipping.
discussed skipping that one and
Yeah,
making this
we
for the
did.
last one of 2023.
Yeah.
Okay,
I'm not sure if we
And then
officially voted on that.
Yeah, I think we decided to skip it. It's in the minutes that we decided to skip it.
That's how I recall as well.
so I like that. So, and should we just stick with the next one in January would be the 11th?
Yeah,
That works.
How do we do?
yeah,
Okay, and depending on what we decide tonight on, various different outreach things, we can decide again if we need to meet again.
yeah.
So the next item is community outreach.
Why are you skipping A?
Which one?
The review of schedule and legal requirements.
Oh, I'm sorry, I did. Was I
You had a purpose
I
for
did not,
skipping it?
I did not.
Or-
It's just the way I read it. I read it too quickly.
Yeah.
So Josh, can you give us what the dates
Yeah.
are that we need to deal with?
Mhm.
Hoping,
For the bond?
yeah.
So,
Yeah,
yeah,
so right now, we went to the board last week. They approved
Right.
moving forward with a bond. In the meantime, Jeff was exploring, could we have a flatter payment rather than start off high and then reduce? This is how bonds work. They have a flat principal payment, but you pay more interest up front and then less throughout the time.
Yeah.
So through going back and forth with the bond bank, Jeff found that if we got a 20-year note, it flattens the payment out and actually reduces the amount of interest we have to pay. And it would be about
Huh.
$720,000, I
Mhm.
think.
So very similar to what the initial payment would be on a 30-year bond. But the 30-year bond starts at about 750 and ends at about what, 340, something like that.
Yeah.
750,000 on the 9.8.
9.8 for 30
whatever
years.
that number is.
Um,
Okay.
So, what I wanted to do is present to the select board, options, different ways of financing. I don't think it's really,
Cause it has to go back to them again a couple more times.
Well, so they need to approve the final paperwork. And as we were looking at this option, our attorney said, well, if you're gonna do a note, it's different paperwork. So decide
Oh,
what you
you
want
gotta
to
do
do
it now.
and then come back. Yeah, so the
So,
board on Monday will look at the options. We've got some schedules put together for them to review and then make a
Okay.
decision. And then we'll go back at the January 2nd meeting with paperwork, for either a bond or a note. We don't have to put the term in there, so we could play with the term if we wanted to.
What's a note? Can you?
so it's a loan, so, like your mortgage payment is a loan, it's like a note, and this would be more like your mortgage payment where you pay one number for the term.
like a fixed rate mortgage.
For
Yeah.
the
So
term.
you found that the interest rate was just so much lower?
So
that it
If
was-
we went for 20 years.
Yeah, and it's not really the interest rate so much as because I was reading into what Ken said a little bit more too. So when you do a bond, you have a fixed amount of principal throughout the entire time, and you start off with a large amount of interest, and then that reduces. So your payment is reducing over time. The interest rate is actually the same on the note, but you start paying a smaller amount of principal, and then that increases and your interest kind of reduces over time.
I see.
So it's.
So you're
that's how you get
affected-
the Same
What's
Has
that?
to do with how they amortize.
So that's how you get
Yeah.
the same amount
So you,
over the life of the,
yeah, you're paying it back in 20 years, but you're paying it back quicker, and you're paying less interest because you're kind of you're not, well, so if you compare it to 30-year with 30-year, which is what you did initially, it actually is favorable to the bond because you pay less interest over those 30 years because you're paying your principal down quicker. But when you look at the 20-year, it's a reasonable payment and it's 20 years. It's shorter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you pay about $2 million less interest.
What it doesn't look like, we can do in either case is prepay the loan.
Right, yeah, because Connie was asking that, like, what if we come into money again like ARPA and we can like, hey, we have $1 million, we want to pay some of it down. Because of the way they structure these, they don't allow you to prepay.
so if we had the money. So what if we had a grant?
We would have to have that before we took the bond or the note. So if we determined that we,
But if we get a grant like next year,
no, you can't reduce the amount.
Well, we haven't taken out the bond yet. So
You mean after we get the bond, we take it
Yeah,
out, then you get a grant? Yeah, no, that would not be, we would not be able to pay the bond back.
but
Early.
between now and whenever we bond,
but we could
There
put
is
that money in the
some-
bank to pay bond payments.
something else. Yeah, yes, okay.
Mhm.
So that's all I was saying. If
That's a
you
good
just,
point, yeah.
you just put it, if we got $1 million, you can't pay down $1 million, but you put it in the bank and you pay the next however
Yeah.
many payments out of
Something.
whatever that grant is.
I'm sure if we got $1 million, we'd be able to figure out a way to use
Yeah,
it.
yeah, I know, I know. It'll all be
It would be
accounting.
nice.
It'll all be accounting.
Well,
All right.
and the one way that could take a long time, but it might be worthwhile looking at is the FEMA money. The FEMA money FEMA's very slow in making decisions.
Yes, they are.
But, I was encouraged to look into it by the state, the state FEMA
Okay.
person.
All right.
And it could be $1 million, I
Okay.
mean, we certainly have $1 million worth of stuff
And the
related to.
town has dealt with FEMA money before, so.
Yeah, it would probably be the mitigation program,
Yeah.
right? So they would probably look at the post office
You know,
and say, we don't want this to flood again.
Yep.
Let's help you pay for this.
well, I mean,
Yeah.
so one way to look at it is, they look at, how much damage have you had in the past and, what are you trying to mitigate? Another way to look at it is, what could happen in the future and what are you trying to mitigate? So it's not just the post office. When I think about flood mitigation, we're changing where the mechanicals are. That's not a small cost.
Putting in the pressure valves,
Yeah.
we're
Mhm.
doing some site work that relates to flood mitigation.
Yeah. Well, the
There's more
mechanical,
than just the
yeah.
post office.
And the demolition of the basement and all of that, but moving the mechanicals, how much of that do you attribute to mitigation?
Hmm.
I don't know. It
Pretty
depends.
much all of it.
Well, you could, because,
Yeah.
Well, because of flooding, we
Probably
can't put
wouldn't
them
do
back
the
in the
cover.
basement.
We
So,
can't do that,
yeah,
right.
Yeah.
that's,
So
Yes.
the building, the room, the mechanical room might be part of that,
Yeah, okay,
and whatever
Anyway,
equipment's there.
yeah,
Maybe.
so,
So we can look at
okay,
that.
back to schedule though. So if you go to January 2nd would be, you're saying, Josh?
That would be a final approval of the paperwork by the
The
board.
paperwork,
Yeah, the paperwork, the language for the
the
bond.
language for the
bond vote.
bond.
So that's what's operable for the select board is deciding whether it's a note or a
Yeah.
bond and what the
Before,
term is.
because the
The
paperwork.
paperwork is different. It'll show up differently on the morning.
Okay.
And so we're working through that.
So do we need to, are we gonna make a recommendation as a committee or?
I don't think it's necessary or maybe not even appropriate, I think it's a select board.
Select board is the one that does the budget.
Because otherwise that would have to happen tonight.
Yeah.
Yeah.
no,
Yeah, and I don't, yeah. So then and then when does early voting start? March 4th is town meeting day,
March
right?
Fifth is town meeting
March
day.
5th.
Yeah.
So I think it's 30 days prior, is that right?
That sounds
So it
about
would
right.
be February.
Around February, yeah, probably 4th or 5th, was 29 days.
So we basically
is a
want
Monday.
to do all our outreach before early voting starts, or most of
Well,
it, as
not all
much
of
as we
it,
can
but
do.
I think we should do as much as we
Right.
can, so the month of
Because
January is.
Early voting numbers have been going up every year.
Yeah.
So,
I don't
yeah,
think we're sending ballots out. Has that been discussed?
You know what? I'd have to check with Linda. I think what she's been doing the last couple elections
You
is
have to request. I
people
think.
request.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's
Yeah.
like during COVID,
They only-
everybody got a
They
ballot.
only sent it out during
Right,
COVID.
'cause that was
Last year,
paid for.
we had to request.
Yep.
The last vote, we had to request.
It's probably gonna be the
Only
same, but
ballots if we
requests
want.
have come up. based
And
on
then,
people
have-
going.
and then just drop it off at,
That's a good point. So we should try to figure out to do as much as we can in January. I mean, I think that's,
yeah, January.
there's not a whole lot of point in doing stuff over the holidays, but,
No.
but January would be good. We have a required,
Carolyn combined with.
Yeah, there you go.
Give our presentation to the
12
tune of
town
jingle bells.
center.
Are you familiar with the renovation plans for the town center?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And we're required to do some public meetings
yes.
within,
Yeah, so
Can
that'll be on February 26th.
okay,
And that'll be the public information hearing for this item, the Conservation Reserve Fund. We'll talk about the budget as well.
can we do, but we should be doing some just on this at
Yeah,
earlier
I
than
think
that.
that's prudent.
Okay.
yeah.
What I'm not clear on is, so are we doing, we're doing a select board meeting on the Monday night before?
Yes, there'll be a regular select board meeting that for.
Okay,
That's on March, so that's
March
March
4th.
4th.
Yeah,
and would you expect us to do a presentation on town meeting as well?
I don't know. I have that question into the attorney to find, because we were asking, like, did it change, did it not? So I'm at.
Can we do that? Can we have a table? We had all those questions.
Yeah,
about
so I'm trying
what
to
we can
find
do
all.
on
those
town
answers.
meeting day.
I'm
Since
pretty
it's on
sure
the
we
ballot,
can.
can we still be promoting it in the hallway?
I'm
Or
pretty
do
sure
it
we
present-
can, I think.
Well, you do the budget, so it's not any different. No, we,
Not yet.
oh, no.
But-
But
But the
you've done
budget,
stuff on Australian ballot stuff before, haven't you? At town
It's-
meeting?
It's changed.
yeah,
Okay,
There was a statutory change in the last 5 years. And
so
I-
the questions for the minutes are just, can we do a presentation at town meeting?
and the only one I can think of since I've been here in the last 5 years is the Conservation Reserve Fund is always on the Australian ballot,
Yeah.
and they always do a presentation, the Conservation Commission does at the select board meeting like the night before or the public information hearing, but they don't do one during town meeting. And I don't know if that's because it was statutorily limited or that had just been the tradition, but I'm trying to find that information out.
And the presentation is already quite long. I guess we have to think about whether we want to add that. I mean, Josh's presentation at town meeting
Yes,
is always pretty lengthy
Well,
and.
and I
a lot
think
of
we would
numbers
have to-
Get thrown around.
I think we'd have to abbreviate ours. I think we'd have
Yeah.
to get it shorter.
That's
I
why I'm
think for-
wondering if a table might be more.
I think it would be good to present to the people who are there. The one thing about about the people who are there is every one of them votes.
Mhm.
Right, correct.
So it's not just a random audience, it's
Mhm.
every one of them votes.
Well,
So,
maybe we do both though.
yeah, I think it would probably be
Have
good
a
to do
table
both.
all day.
I mean,
know.
your tabletop display is fantastic, so,
Oh, thank you.
so that, I think,
Public Hearing is in lieu of the select board meeting, or it's somehow combined?
It's
or-
scheduled on an off night from select board, so
Oh,
it's
the
on
other.
the
So there's a
fourth one, and that is a statutory requirement.
Okay.
that For Australian ballot items, they have to have a public hearing within 10 days of the vote.
Okay.
And so we're doing it that night because select board meetings are already 3.5 hours long,
Right.
so we don't need to add
Add that.
2 more hours between the budget and town center vote to the select board.
I never make it through the whole select board
We'd
meeting.
be here till 2 a.m.
I usually do.
Wait a minute, Jeff. All right, so that gives me a good, so, yeah.
Okay, that gives you a good idea.
Well, that sense we should be doing whatever outreach to groups or whatever in January.
In January, and it won't kill us to do something in February too. So,
No,
so, so that's,
okay,
and we've got meeting dates. We've done that. So the
Yep.
community outreach, one suggestion I thought you had, Lori, was to do a tour with the fire department. Were you
well,
being facetious or you?
no, they they comment about it often in Rich's hearing.
Hmm.
They basically don't know what they're talking about when they're
Okay.
commenting. They don't have any facts. They're just the number is the number, but there's no facts behind the number because,
I think if we invited
know.
them for a tour and a presentation, I think a lot of them would actually come.
yeah.
And, there's
mean-
another audience that is likely to vote,
Well, we could
I could do it on,
ask them if they want to do them on a Monday night training night, but they're already,
I was gonna
you know,
say,
they do Monday training.
and I think we might have some luck. We've had a lot of opportunities for people to come to us, which have been somewhat taken. I think we might need to go out to
Yes,
other
Yeah,
people,
agree.
like,
I agree.
to get a bigger
That whole
crowd.
Senior Center Historical Society is
Yeah.
another group that I would say, when is your meeting? Or would you guys invite your members to a meeting that we come to you?
So what I could do, is, I can ask, Jerry and Dennis.
Yeah, their first Monday is business meeting of the month. And then they skip the next Monday and they do the following 2 Mondays as trainings.
Oh, so the fourth Monday would be, I was thinking select board meetings for the first and third. So the fourth Monday, if they meet that would be a
Yeah.
non-select board night, which could potentially work.
Or the first Monday and replace their business meeting.
Well, the first
But they
Monday
say select
First
board
Monday.
meeting.
Oh, that-
January is
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I guess.
First
New
and
York.
Maybe
Monday,
Monday.
the 29th
So
would be
the
the fourth
fourth.
Be
Monday.
fine.
So the
January
22nd?
January
29th
29th.
is the fourth Monday.
No, the 22nd is the fourth.
Fourth.
Oh,
Yeah, there's 5
oh,
Mondays.
yeah,
in
that's
January.
right. There's 5
Oh,
Mondays, so the
122.
22nd.
So, yeah, it's also nice not to be asking the
Monday.
guys to put in another day.
Yeah, I think,
Work. They
So,
sometimes struggle to find things to do trainings on.
oh, there we go. This would
They
be
might
perfect.
not be, and it's also, there is a fire department
Component.
aspect to
There's a-
this
there-
with
Yeah.
sprinklers and fire and
Okay, so what I'll commit to is I'll write to Jerry and, Dennis and see if I
see if
can.
we could make that the training, just the presentation. They could do a tour. A lot of them probably the same thing, have
Yeah,
not been.
I would
in
like
this
to do a
building
tour if
in the
possible.
evening, and we don't have, yeah. And then I could reach out to Karen and Martha, Historical Society and the Senior Center.
Okay.
They were willing to have some kind of a get together on a Sunday, I think,
Yes,
in the afternoon, which is when the Historical Society has been doing their presentations.
we could do a Sunday. So I'm quick to say yes, because I'm assuming that I'm gonna do it.
Well,
I'm
yeah,
not
but-
necessarily,
To do them all. The
22nd
22nd
is a Monday
is a
night.
Monday night for the fire department. As Rich said, we could invite rescue, but hardly any of them live in Richmond.
Really? Huh.
Oh, no. Most
Yeah,
of
they're
them
all
don't
over.
Live in Richmond.
I will not be here, but
Okay.
Yeah,
please.
but that's, again, it's.
So, and I'm not necessarily expecting, all committee members to attend
No.
all of these
Yes.
Well, I think
things.
the other tours worked fine with a couple of us showing
Yeah.
up, he did all the talking. I did a little talking, but
I hope
Jeff
I didn't-
ended up doing the talking, so it was fine.
I'm just acknowledging you're shouldering a lot
Yeah.
of this, so.
Yeah,
Um,
somewhere I was looking for that we had a list of groups.
So we're talking senior center,
Those are
And-
the two big were those the two big ones
Historical.
that we thought of for just?
yeah, or, and also people who have like that connection to the building too. It'd be great
Well,
to,
yeah, we could include in that group the MMC TV board and the,
at the same time or separate?
I don't know. I think we have to do maybe one. I think after the news comes out that the bond is on the vote, there might be more interest in just some general public.
I'm already getting
Maybe.
emails.
Yeah, so I had a conversation with Denise too, so. Well, she asked me some stuff.
So what other groups? Judy, do you think, would would the Radiate folks want to do a tour of the building?
I'd have to ask. Right now, I'm a little bit out of it. I broke my arm, so I'm just listening in, and I'm letting them take over. But what I mean, it's sort of like an open house, and then
Yeah, so what, I think Amy is correct. What we've done now is we've done at least a couple, kind of, okay, we're gonna do tours of the building. Anybody want to come?
mhm.
And I think,
We've had a
during
few here and there.
a few, there haven't been many. And what might be more effective is to reach out specifically to groups and say, would your group like a tour? I might
Yeah.
get it.
I think that we have a good what do you call it, the email newsletter. Can't remember what the name of that thing is, but we've got like almost 500 people on that, and I think that maybe in January we could put something out, and we could have a
Yeah,
time. I'm not sure that people will want to come for a tour. I'm not sure about that, but
Well, it could be it could either be a
Presentation.
presentation or a tour. You've seen both, haven't you, Judy?
I wasn't in on any of the tours, I don't think. But
Okay.
The
we
tour
could
is-
just,
Oh, sorry.
if you
Judy,
had a date when you were having one and we put it in the newsletter, I don't think that Radiate would have a specific one for you know,
so we
our
might,
group.
And when we say tour, it basically is, let's go around and show you the things in the building that we would be replacing. Like here's
Yeah.
here's the state of the equipment, and this is what we're planning on doing. So
change.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's sort of what the tour ends up looking like and sounding
Yeah.
like.
But we could see if, yeah. I mean, maybe there's just smaller groups that we invite to
What about,
one presentation.
What about the DRB or the Planning Commission or
So
maybe,
the other town,
Senior Center already, was that one of the?
no, we did the select board and then we did, the book sale. And we held a couple.
I know it's a very active group of seniors, right? The whole.
Yeah.
well, yeah, I'm gonna do the Historical Society and the Community Senior Center, because there's a ton of overlap in those two groups, and they were willing to host something together, like do it once for both sets of members,
So,
because there is a lot of overlap.
so if they could pick a date,
Yeah.
and we can try to work
Yeah.
around that date.
Yeah.
Um,
I know they liked Sunday afternoon. That was
Yeah.
when we were talking about this before.
okay, so that would work.
But then there is that group of like town volunteers
There is.
in the all the committees, all
I always lose that.
the committees
find
and the informal committees like the Energy Committee and the racial equity is they're a separate, right? They're a separate group.
Well, but they're an active group.
Yeah, but
and
I mean-
think, yeah.
But I mean, I would add them into
Yeah.
this
Oh, yeah.
same committee.
Yeah.
Which one's this? Sorry.
I had
Oh,
a question. So you're talking about some open house tours and meetings in January?
Yes, yes.
Okay, if you have these, like if there are 3 of them, whether they're organized by the senior, I mean, because there's a certain part of our population that's part of the seniors, or so there's a lot of overlap. And if we put out when we put our January newsletter out, which usually goes the first week in January, and if you had the dates, then we could say, to learn more about the changes to the building and how it will affect, then they could come. I mean, there's nothing stopping anybody from coming to any of those, is there? Or they,
Absolutely.
No,
More the merrier.
I mean, I would basically just get the Historical Society and Senior Center people to choose a date that they think is gonna work for a lot of their members. But anybody could come, they're all open meetings and anybody could
Yeah.
come to.
Yeah, we'll warn all of them.
Yeah,
Um, So, I would assume that if they like Sundays, then, it'll be, the Historical Society and the Senior Center will want to do some Sunday in January.
Mhm.
Um,
I think the Monday night thing for the fire department might
Fire
be a little
department thing.
special thing, or we could form that too.
and maybe one just for town committees, I mean, we have several. Active committees, are like the Planning Commission, the Development Review Board, and the Conservation Commission.
What if,
They have a lot of members.
what if we went to a Friday food affair and set up a table at one of the Friday food affairs?
that's a
Those, that
really
had
good
like
idea.
150 people the first one.
That's
And
awesome.
like, we may not necessarily have a formal presentation, but
Right.
we have a table, we have our display,
The
we're there to
handouts,
answer
if they wanna
questions,
take
we're
them
there
and
to
Look at it.
chat with
Yeah.
people, that
that's
are
a really
interested.
good
I mean,
idea.
that's a big community event, and that gets a lot of different
I
people
think-
that we might not
Yeah,
ordinarily
And
reach.
Marshall said he was doing 2 every
There's
month.
one, I was talking to Marie, De Benedetto yesterday, and there's one, I think, coming up on the 4th of January, and then
Hmm.
maybe the 18th after that.
Yeah.
So
I know.
I can
Richmond.
ask Marie.
Ask Marie for
okay.
the dates,
Yep.
yeah.
I
I mean, the 18th.
feel
would
like
be
the
good.
4th is one, and I think maybe the 18th is the other.
That would be good. That is,
I
that
think they're
does
twice
get a
a
lot of
It's
people.
January.
January, yeah.
It'd be the 5th.
Friday food, the 5th, yeah, it's that first week right after.
Mhm.
The other big one that I'm, sort of apprehensive to say, but I think needs to be discussed is Front Porch Forum.
Oh, yeah.
Everybody in town looks, I mean, that is an
Well, that's where I would
extremely
post all the.
popular
the
way.
notes.
Mhm.
It's right,
All the,
So,
Have we posted the link to the video of the tour on Front Porch?
sure, we
Forum
can
yet?
do that. So
the question is how we can do that in a way that doesn't start swirl,
Yeah.
because people will,
Mhm.
they'll go there, right? So as soon as somebody puts anything out, whether it's, oh, they're putting housing on Browns, but whatever it is, people go off the handle and blow everything out of proportion, right? And you put a number like, oh yeah, 9.8 million, it's gonna be like, oh, this is an unlivable town and it's too expensive, blah, blah, blah. You're gonna get that. But at the same
Yeah.
time, it's a
Well,
big megaphone. So is there a way?
I think we ought to do it regularly. So, that's another thing I got to put on my list is, Linda wants me to write a report for the town report, and I think, well, maybe you could draft it.
I could draft it. I wrote the last one.
Did you? It would be
Yes, I
great,
did.
but I think we could
Remember we did, yeah.
recirculate that and,
Yeah.
at least once or twice, at least once a month, between now and,
I mean, the FAQ document is a great, pretty, very thorough kind of official thing because it was produced by the committee. It's not just
Yeah,
me writing or Jeff writing and
Yeah.
saying, hey, did you hear about this? This is
well,
so
I
great.
think we need to officially say there is gonna be a bond issue for this and link it and maybe put the link to the video
video.
tour and a link to the documents. And in that,
Video of the tour?
yeah, we
One- yeah.
videotaped his tour and it's online. Yeah, MMCTV did it.
Oh, I didn't
And
realize
it's
that.
great. I
Haven't seen it.
actually watched it because I couldn't hear the questions in the room.
yeah, I couldn't either.
No, I mean,
Does it work with it did seem like the
no,
mic
no,
worked.
it was fine, but I was outside the room and I didn't hear the room you were in that was one of my comments. Don't start taking questions in the little conference room where everybody can't get in. Do it out in the hallway where,
That's a good point.
there was all the other select board members and I were out in the hall when everybody started asking all those questions. So that was just a comment I was gonna make on the tour.
Okay.
So what is the Front Porch Forum plan? Do we have a solid plan?
I don't recall when I need to get the reports to.
Not just like cringing
Linda.
here.
When,
No,
do you know
so-
when we have to get the reports to Linda?
She usually asks for them by end of December, I think, but like, she can don't tell her I told you, but she can push it to like
Well,
early
I
January.
can draft something if you want me to, if you tell me what you envisioned being in it.
So can we circulate a draft of our report without a meeting?
I mean, if we circulated it and then just gave feedback just Lori.
to one
I
person.
think that'd be.
That's how we do the library report. Rebecca writes it and she
That would be
circulates it to
awesome.
all
And
of
then
us.
as long as we're not
We
like
Kind
all
of we
working on
send
it.
her back our comments on it and she,
And then we trust that you and Jeff will finalize it
yeah,
and think that's
That would be awesome.
okay for open
So
meeting.
yeah.
if you have time to do that, Lori, that would be awesome.
So just sort of basically what we've done in the last year, which is
Yeah.
basically coming to this decision and not going into the weeds about everything we've talked about, but
Yeah,
we basically,
If
we've
you-
worked with them. we've
If you
considered
started,
many
I'll come up
options.
with
Yeah.
something.
and I would think maybe hit some of the highlights as far as why this needs to be done now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was Denise's big question.
Why?
And
yeah.
then she said, well, what happens if it doesn't pass? And I said, I don't know, because there's really nothing we can take out that's gonna make an appreciable cost difference to this project, and it's only gonna get more expensive,
Right.
you know?
You know, I sat down, I gave her one of these and I sat down and talked.
Good, I know. She asked me what I thought the percentage of likelihood it was gonna pass, and I said.
100%.
50.
Yeah, right.
No,
I'm actually, you know,
I
I don't know.
never know. I'm really bad at predicting things, clearly. All right, so I'll start a draft of
We'll
the
do that.
town
We'll do
report and I'll
the
send
front
it.
porch forum thing is good, I think, and we can refine it, I'd like to get it out probably early January.
Yeah.
I like the idea of it being multiple times, but
times.
also something that's more of like an official
Yeah.
kind of
I'll
proclamation.
put it under my
From
name
them as the
and I'll
chair.
speak for the committee.
Yeah.
And I'll put my contact information on it.
Anyone that owns a house knows the duties of ownership. So this year, we, and participate.
She told me, I think she was just, oh, shoot, Lisa, I think I muted you. I thought you were not talking to us, but you were talking to us. Unmute yourself, please. It just was a weird, like, kind of.
Yeah.
I don't think she was talking to us.
Lisa, were you talking to
Well,
us?
he was trying to talk about duties of ownership of a house. So I was like, oh, maybe she was talking about
Well, there's
how that relates. So sorry, Lisa, I think.
All
I
right.
premature.
Yeah, I forgot I wasn't on mute. All right, I thought I was on mute.
Were you talking to us about this conversation?
No, sorry.
No, okay, well then
Sorry.
I don't care, then you're fine.
You know, remembering that it's recording, it's always a little like recording this.
Yeah.
Oh.
Well,
For all eternity. Oh dear.
Yeah, I know, it lives forever, Lisa.
we were talking about the forum, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, and I think linking to whatever information
Yep.
we have that
We have
again,
absolutely.
public record, right? And we do
Yeah.
have information. So it isn't, I just want to, it's as far away from opinion and hearsay as we can.
Oh, yeah,
get,
yeah, yeah.
Right? Because
No.
I feel like that's
Here's
what
the
really
fact.
triggers,
Here's the fact.
that's
This
what
is-
triggers
Yeah,
people.
this is the content.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the affect that I've been using of late, that it feels correct to me, is we actually know a lot. We know a lot, and it's all factual information. We know what's wrong with the building.
Yeah.
We know what needs to be fixed. We now know as best we can how much it's gonna cost to fix it
Right.
and to do this project. And that's all factual information. That's not
Right.
opinion.
Right.
And it's based on pretty solid numbers. I mean, we've got, 300 line items that this number is coming from.
We've got.
You know that, and I know that.
Yeah, but
And
we've.
we all know that.
So-
But people who just casually see something in front porch.
Mhm.
Well,
Forum
we're getting
don't know that. So we
specific
just-
questions about that too,
Yeah.
so like,
That's-
why does it cost so much, and so, yes, I think we do, and frankly, I would welcome questions in front porch forum, because it will allow me to
Yeah.
answer them, and to be able to
Right.
have, more.
And
presence.
you're gonna get some flamograms that are just,
It's
and
okay,
just like,
it's okay,
it's just gonna,
it comes with the territory, so I'm happy to, field that,
and we can continue on into February with
absolutely.
a regular every couple weeks.
I think
Yeah.
absolutely, and we can do,
Oh,
more presentations if people are interested in doing those.
Right?
What I put out is anybody wants one, I'll do it, and I haven't gotten a lot of takers.
No,
Maybe ice cream, maybe if I free ice cream.
well, I like the front the Friday food affair, just having a table.
Yeah,
Is that
I'll talk to
again-
Marie at school. tomorrow.
Yeah, because that again is just, people will have specific questions. And then you
What,
can,
how many of these do we have? How many of the,
I brought some, these were the extras from the library, so
That's
we
it?
have,
that's all we have? That's good. I wonder if I could put some of those out tomorrow night at Friday
Sure.
Food Fair.
Yeah.
Food Fair.
I think they could-
Only 7?
there's
We
7
make-
there.
Should we
still.
make another bunch?
And they do have the correct floor plan with tenants marked. That's the only thing I want to look at. Before we do a lot of them, I need to look at the FAQ because I'm not sure how the tenant thing is addressed in the FAQ.
Oh, in terms of identifying
Yeah.
specific names.
Yeah, I think it might be pretty general, but
I'm gonna look. I might have
yeah,
it in here.
look at
See
it.
if I
Well,
can
here,
find it.
Well,
it's right
Oh.
here, so.
Does the floor plan have?
The floor plan has
Is
tenants,
that-
but I'm not sure what,
In the.
I didn't go back to the
narrative.
FAQ and fix it. It might still say the list of
so
tenants.
could you do that? So like,
Yeah, Amy's
Yeah,
looking for
Lindsay,
it.
I'm sure can print those out,
okay, like
Yeah.
like
tomorrow?
20 of them or something.
Yeah,
tomorrow,
that'd be great.
Yeah.
you know? And,
All right,
our meeting tomorrow
remember
at
what I
11 is
put in there.
via
There's-
Zoom,
Might
right?
be a couple places.
Blair for-
Yes, that's all we do. Yeah.
So,
The office space could be, so it's under the police department. The police department will have updated office
Yeah,
space and
that's-
locker room. This office space could be reconfigured for the town or tenants if the police department needs are reduced or is moved to some other location.
That's
They're
okay.
Not a tenant in the same way.
No,
Will the renovation, so the question is, will all of the current tenants stay in the building?
That's the
The
one that
renovation
needs to
can
change.
accommodate the need, yeah, I think we need to change in here. The renovation can accommodate the needs of the US Postal Service and could continue to accommodate MMCTV, Richmond Historical Society, and the Community Senior Center. Organizations that are using the building for non-critical storage space can continue to do so in the basement. And what we need to, I think, say is that we cannot use the basement space for tenants. But depending on what we do with
right,
the
but then
other
but
space.
somewhere it needs to still say,
Yeah.
oh, it says the
Yeah,
select board
The
will.
select board will determine how to allocate space in the building to
Okay.
accommodate current
So
and
that
future
covers it.
tenants.
That's
Yeah.
probably good enough for this stage.
Yep.
You know,
Yeah, the basement. I will change one line and send it to you.
okay.
Yeah.
You'll
Because
take
that
it.
is, it's even awkward to understand what
Yeah.
it means, actually.
Okay.
It
Yeah.
felt like, Radiate came to the select board
Yeah.
and we made the change for tenant.
Yeah.
It seemed like, that's what they wanted.
Good.
Judy, do you feel like we addressed your concern about, identifying tenants, at that meeting, at the select board meeting?
I think at the select board meeting, you basically said you weren't gonna mention anybody, you were just gonna say tenants, and you can say that, that the select board will decide how to allocate space, that you weren't.
Yeah.
I
think
mean,
we
that
just-
was, I guess, sort of my understanding was that it was at least in, that the select board was gonna decide.
So
And that-
we can reflect that in
And
the.
that's what this is gonna, so what I did was I rewrote this to say, the renovation can accommodate the needs of the US Postal Service and would continue to accommodate tenants, some tenants. Organizations that are using the building for non-critical storage in the basement could continue to do that, but we could not house a tenant in the basement space. The select board will determine how to use the space.
Okay.
Sounds great.
So there's no commitment to anyone.
Okay.
Okay, that's that.
Okay,
Okay.
is there, that feels like enough
Yeah.
for tonight? Does that
Do you
feel
want-
like enough
Do
for
do
tonight?
we need to look at the calendar and actually try to plot out the dates for these things? Would it be helpful?
I'm open to that.
Next time we're gonna meet is gonna be
It's
the
gonna middle
11th.
of January.
11, so
which
that's
is-
halfway through the
yeah.
month. So
Right.
do we want to do something, earlier the first week of January?
Well, okay, so the dates we've specifically said was one of the Friday food affairs and the trying for the 22nd for the fire department.
Okay, so the,
guys.
and
the fifth
Amy, you
will
said the
be
Friday
full-
Foodie Fair might be on the fifth?
Believe that there's one on the 5th, because
January or?
of January. I believe it's the 5th and I believe it's the fifth and
18th,
likely, or
'cause I-
sorry, 19th. It would be the
19th.
19th on the Friday. So I think the fifth and the 19th, because I know they're twice a month, but
Mm,
it could be the 26th too. Let me see if I can Google it and find out. Calendar.
mhm.
Okay.
I mean,
those
it
are-
would be nice to maybe even do both of them and we could just switch off the who goes.
That would be, I think that's a good idea.
You know, the more that we can be out there with information, the less people are gonna think it's a
Yeah.
secret.
I think, I think a big part of our job is just, correcting
Taking the dog and pony show on the road.
misunderstandings,
Yeah.
Yeah,
So if it was let's see, the week of the book fair,
yeah.
It's
And
the
then
first and the
tomo-
15th.
Tomorrow.
my guess is it's probably the 5th and the
Fifth
19th.
and-
Yeah.
Yeah.
But if we,
That
if
would
we
be the
know
first
it's
and
the
third.
5th,
Yeah.
right? So we could plan on the 5th and probably the 19th.
Yep.
And I'll bring packets tomorrow. I'm going tomorrow.
Okay.
So
On the
I'll-
22nd, and then some Sunday. Probably
if I-
likely this
If I
historical.
don't make it down here, just leave it down in the
That's it.
foyer downstairs. Okay.
Sure.
So some Sunday afternoon is likely gonna be the date for the Historical Society. And then
What
we
are we
should have
waiting?
some other tour that we specifically,
Let the,
the committee people, we could,
committee, so like.
what's a good,
Too bad.
is there a, I mean, they have committee meetings all week, so there's probably not gonna be a great single
So
date.
They're not gonna wanna do it during a committee meeting.
No,
well,
no.
that, with January having 5 Mondays, that gives us a 5th week in January, basically. So like that Thursday, when we would normally have a meeting was February 1st, before the 5th select board meeting.
Mhm.
That might be a good night because most committees are first, second, third, or fourth weeks. 5th weeks kind of tend to be quiet.
Oh, okay.
So
So we could try to
March
do
1st,
something.
February
February
1st could
1st.
be a good day because that would be a normal Thursday that we would have.
Thursday, we
Yep.
would have been
We would be
meeting,
meeting anyway, and that might be, and committee members might be free that night just because it's a,
and I do
sort of an
like
off day.
having an afternoon, like a Sunday, and a couple of evening type things.
Okay,
Will not be scheduled for the first.
of February.
yeah, we're not listed for that.
No, I think, because we're the 11th of January, then the 25th of January, and then February 8th.
No, so we won't be, so the select board meets the first and third Mondays, and we meet the Thursday prior to the first and third Mondays. So if you look at the first Monday in February,
Every other. I
Right,
have it,
yeah.
I have it on my calendar for
Yeah.
every
It
other.
isn't every
So-
other.
so
So
that's
it's
why it's a
the-
little.
It's the
it's a
5
little
weeks
off
in
rhythm.
January is what
That's why
screws us up.
Yeah, and that's why the 5th week in January is usually a little quieter.
So
So
we're on
Thursday-
for the 11th, and then what is our next meeting after that?
Our next scheduled meeting would actually be
25th?
the 1st because there's no select board meeting on the 29th.
Uh-huh.
We're the only committee
Right.
that ties our meetings to
Okay.
the select
I
board
mean, we
schedule.
can meet any
The
Thursday
11th
we
and the-
want,
We
but
can-
that's the schedule.
Yeah, so we could have a
That's
regular
true.
meeting on the 11th, a regular on the 25th, and a committee meeting,
Change.
like a presentation on the 1st if we wanted to.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
We
why
could do
why don't we
that.
do a sit-down presentation and invite all town committees?
But it'll
On the
still
first.
be on the list but we'll have a list
Yeah,
of these
it'll be for anybody.
presentations and anybody can come.
Yeah.
But we'll try to make them to the,
Well,
con-
they
for the
do special
convenience of those
invitation for the,
groups.
For the
Yeah.
town committee.
And
Yeah.
we could also ask Judy to put that in
Yeah.
Yeah.
the Radiate
Mhm.
e-newsletter.
And I'll have Martha put it in the senior center, all the dates in the senior center newsletter.
Okay.
And I think Historical Society puts out a little newsletter to their members. So the earlier we have the dates, and we can say we'll have a table at the Friday Food Affair if you want to
Okay.
join us, you know.
I missed the Saturday date. Did we put a date down for the
It's
Saturday?
Sunday.
Don't have any Saturday
Yeah,
or
okay.
Sunday yet.
I know
We
you
don't
talked
have
about
any
it.
weekend yet, but I
So
mean-
you'll find out from the senior center if they want
I'll
to do
talk
that.
to Karen and Martha and say,
Okay.
okay, they had tentatively picked a date back when, and
Yeah,
then
right.
we were changing our minds about all sorts of
Hmm.
things, and it wasn't really, it was too early.
Okay,
But we can come up with a
okay.
date that
Okay.
might work, that's not a date that overlaps with any of their events.
So I think,
Mhm.
Laura, you seem like you have a good handle on it. I think you.
I
you know,
can
you'll
just
be-
put them in
put
the
in the
minutes, a
minutes, and that'll
date,
be
and if
great.
I can find out from Karen and Martha early, we can just have that list.
Okay, I think we can move on to the next
Okay.
agenda item. What do we have left to do with the library? It's gonna
Well,
require.
there's roof work that has not been scheduled. I just reached out to Alex. Josh asked me to ask Alex, since we agreed we don't have to rebid all these things.
Uh-huh.
I asked Alex to go back to his original bid and sort of update what's been done and what remains to be done. And he's also getting prices for the work that
Okay.
we got ARPA money for.
Uh-huh.
I mean, he's gonna do an actual update to his original estimate, because
Okay.
now it's 2 years later since he did the original estimate. So he's just gonna do an update. He's already trying to get the painter on the schedule for the summer. I said, we would love to get this all done this summer. And so he's gonna come back to me with an update from that bid sheet.
Hmm.
Just to like,
Do
you
you
know.
have any sense of about how much money we're talking about?
the roof is, okay, the roof repairs, if we repair the slate and don't replace the slate, was around 60,000, I think.
No, okay.
The front steps, are arguable about if we
They would like
Restore
20 or
them.
something.
to look the same as they are, historical, it's almost $80,000 for those front steps. If we decide we don't care, it's less, but we don't have a price for that.
Okay, so.
They don't meet code right now. The way they were built,
So
so if we rebuild them again, we're gonna be stuck into this now. We have to fix
what
them
I'm
to-
trying to get to is we have about, at the end of this fiscal year, I think we'll have about $250,000 in the town center fund. Something like that.
If you looked more recently, you would know better than me.
Yeah, it's
I
about
did
that.
not look
Well-
that closely.
It's about that. So, give or take 10,000.
Two library grants that they say they're gonna have the applications available in December.
Okay, so what I'm trying to figure out is,
Yeah.
one thing that changes, if the bond is successful,
Mhm.
one thing that changes is, while we haven't spent a lot of money on maintenance projects on this building,
Mhm.
we could have. And presumably, if we do a complete renovation, the maintenance budgets for this building would be less, at least for the first few years.
Mhm.
We still should have money in the bank to fix things,
Right.
but it might not need to be the entire rent.
Mhm.
Our rent is somewhere $120,000 or so, it's 100,000 for the post office. I think it's 15 for MMC TV. I think that's
Mhm.
right now what it is. So it's somewhere in that neighborhood. And we have $250,000 in the bank. So, I wouldn't want to put all of that towards the bond and leave nothing for maintenance. But, I think the operable thing for us is not. So that the select board, what they could do is spend some of that money on paying down the bond.
Yeah.
Well, I
question would
wondered
be-
about whether some of the post office rent should be designated to every year to help pay down the bond.
Well, that's what
Well,
I'm
we
saying.
get
So
90,000 and we get 90,000 from them every year. So let's say for the next 20 years, 50,000 of that.
that's what I'm suggesting.
Exactly what.
Yeah.
Yes,
That's what I'm suggesting. It doesn't have to be designated towards
yeah.
any piece of it, but because the
Yeah.
bond is addressing the whole thing. But, and that was the number I was thinking is that, we might want to have a number that we put towards the town center fund for maintenance and repairs. And the remaining amount to go towards buying down the bond.
Mhm.
It's not,
Mhm.
huge amount in the scheme of things, but it's still, if we did half and half,
Yeah, that's what I was
That helps.
thinking.
something like that.
Yeah, I've been thinking about that too, just that.
So that's something that I wouldn't mind bringing to the select board as a suggestion from this committee that, we think that with the reserves that we have in the town center fund now. And, if we were to put half of the rent into that fund for future, repairs and maintenance, that the remaining half, could be put towards, the bond payments.
Because we're responsible for the exterior of the library, but any interior projects they might want to do is the library budget.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, and
That's the
the
way the-
library
okay.
reserve.
That's where that's how the MOU was written. Yeah,
And,
The
yeah, actually,
library.
Rebecca corrected me at the last meeting and that was
I know,
was
she
good.
told me.
Good, she did, she was right, so.
Yeah. We are the tenant responsible for our fit up in the library. That's basically how I look at that,
That makes sense.
you know?
So,
So we're looking at replacing carpeting right now.
should I do this as a motion in from this committee, or can I just bring the sense of the committee?
I think it could be a sense of the committee.
This is for the use of the.
Using half of the rent
Recommendation.
Yeah.
to put towards the bond.
But we don't get to make the decision.
Yeah. I know
So I
they're-
think we're just thinking that it's something that is worth bringing up. with the
We
select
would,
board.
we would like the select board to consider that.
Okay, so I think what Josh is trying to research is whether or not we're allowed to do that. Based on, the authorization for the town center fund.
Yeah, and I had meant to do that a while ago.
That's all right.
Let me just double check it. I just gotta find the town report. Which will take me a second.
I suspect it will be. I mean, it's
I mean,
still be going towards,
It has to go toward, yeah, I don't know. I
we're
don't.
talking
remember how
about
that
pretty
was.
substantial repairs. So it's repairs that we're borrowing money for.
Yeah, actually, I guess even if it couldn't go directly, you could just pull the money out of the town center fund.
Yeah.
The money's, yeah, so there's a workaround, I'm sure, without having to go back to the
Yeah.
voters.
Okay,
So we're recommending that the select board
I
consider
think that'll be, I think they will
using
appreciate
part
it.
of the rent,
money
at
to
part-
offset.
using part of the annual rent money to offset some of the bond.
Yeah,
Well, it sends a good signal. It's saying this is an
Yeah.
By moving forward with this, it's an investment, right? And so it's gonna pay back in the fact that we reduced usage of
Mhm.
this money for repairs.
and I think I'm hopeful that we're gonna have enough in the bank and with this reserve fund to take care of foreseeable repairs on both buildings for the foreseeable future, not,
And now the library rents are going into the
Yeah.
reserve fund too, and those have been going up and up and up.
yeah, they have.
So, yeah, I think, so there actually, the article did say that rents hereafter go into the town center reserve fund, and that passed. But the town center reserve fund is able to be used to pay for in whole or in part utilities and insurance of the town center building, maintenance, planning and capital costs of the town center building and the library.
Capital
So
costs,
I think it goes back,
covers it.
yeah, I think it's covered.
Okay.
yeah. Good.
Hey,
So that would be sort of, I think that
I
could
was hoping
ultimately.
we didn't box ourselves into.
Yeah, and that could ultimately be sort of an every year decision by the select board too.
Yeah.
And you look at the budget, how much
Yeah.
of this
Yeah.
are we gonna use?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
It's the entire town, is all the money in the town center funds, all the revenue came from the rents?
yeah,
Yeah.
pretty much, yeah.
Yeah.
But no
Nothing
taxpayer.
that comes out of just the general town fund
No.
flows into that.
No.
Well, in the past, it was the other way around.
Right.
The rent went into the general fund
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
and that changed.
That
So-
changed with the first bond in this building, right?
With the
Yeah.
first bond,
Or maybe not the first one.
the rents went directly towards bond payments and
That's right.
we're still dealing with some of the deferred maintenance from that period. Right.
yeah.
And
And then we just had,
we paid off the bond, then
yeah.
it became flush money.
And then we just said, well, it doesn't make sense that the library rents for their rooms doesn't go into the town center fund the way all the other rent does. So now that's going in there. And before COVID, it was like $16,000 a year that she was making on, and it's
We're
getting
approaching back to
closer.
that.
I think it's 13 now.
That's awesome.
Yeah, she was telling me how well used that room is.
Mhm.
Oh, yeah.
Where's that money coming from?
People who rent the community room or rent the parts of the library for different
for
functions.
Everything from birthday
Sort of like
parties, we've had
subletting.
funerals, we've had wedding
Yeah.
receptions, we've had, the
That's cool.
meetings. Or,
There'll be less next year if we do this project, because we'll have
Well,
to
I
use
know.
that space
I already warned Rebecca that we
But-
were gonna
Temporary.
be,
temporarily.
we were gonna, but that's a good use. I mean, that's fine.
Okay, so I think I think we're at approving minutes,
Yeah.
for, I read over them, they look good to
Mhm.
me.
Yep.
Mhm.
Always.
Okay,
And
so.
motion, we approve the minutes from November 30th.
I'll second that.
Okay. Any more discussion? If not, state your name and your vote.
Amy, I.
Lori, I.
Fine.
Josh.
Jake, I.
Okay, so approved. Any other business that we need to do tonight?
Mhm.
And, how about for next agenda? What should be
So
on our next?
our next meeting will be January 11th. Theoretically,
So I think most of our meetings
the-
don't need to be substance unless something dramatic comes up that we
Right.
need to talk about, but
yeah.
Informational.
I think they're mostly
So,
informational meetings.
The only
Yeah.
thing we probably should decide is who's doing the Friday food affair on the 5th of January. That's before our meeting. And I can maybe be there. We could split the time. It's like 5 to
6:30, it's not that
6:30.
long.
And that's not gonna be a warned meeting, it's just gonna be,
I would say
No,
that's,
Information.
and we're
It's
just
a
a table,
table.
yeah, and
like
people
the-
can
the
talk to
truffle
us.
display,
Mhm.
which is at the library. If you need it for anything, it's behind Rebecca's door in her office right now.
good to know.
I didn't want to haul it around.
So we're scheduled for January 11th.
Yeah,
That's a regular meeting.
Yeah.
Do we need it? I mean, or do we want to use
want
it?
to do a
think-
presentation.
I think we might need it just because we
Yeah.
still wanna make sure that we finalize the presentation date with the senior center.
Yeah.
And that we sort of get a plan
the-
together for
And like a
the,
short
The
meeting.
bond and note.
yeah, I think we need that. I would say.
I think we should have it, even if it's just a short meeting.
Yeah.
I would say, especially if we're not meeting at the end of this month on the
Yeah.
28th, we should
Yeah, yeah,
definitely meet the
Yeah.
11th.
that's almost,
See y'all for present, yeah.
that's 3 weeks.
Amy, it sounds like your friend is organizing the,
She's
Friday
one of
food
the
affair.
people involved in the Friday
Marie.
food affair, so.
I wonder when they put out because I know they put a lot of stuff in Front Porch Forum
Yeah, I
as
was-
well.
That's where I actually
could-
found there's one for this week's Friday food affair in Front Porch.
Maybe
Forum,
ask
so.
her to mention, if it's okay, just mention that we'll be there tabling and, come have dinner and
You
if you're
can
interested in learning a
find
little
out
bit more
more.
about the renovations at
It's not a
the.
presentation, but they can chat,
Yeah,
chat with
we'll have
members
some
of the
people that will
committee.
be there to answer
Yeah.
questions and
Yeah,
have some information.
Have-
Just not a big to
Yep.
do, but just a little,
Yeah.
one sentence in that invite.
Yeah.
Looks like a good one tomorrow night. It's Italian.
Yeah,
I
it's
know, I
that's-
saw that. I know Rich said,
A lot of
maybe-
pasta.
Mac and cheese.
and I said, there's a Friday food affair and they have lasagna. And he was like, oh,
I gotta convince my kids to go.
They're quite fun.
so I'm gonna take these.
Okay,
back
is there
and
anything
I'll
else we need to discuss?
reprint this.
I think we're good.
No, I
So-
didn't think we would have a super long meeting. So,
Okay, So,
yay.
hearing none, I think we can adjourn.